Hey everyone, this is Cesar at Gibson, and what an honor it is to have Mark, the guy, Mark Weiss, here at the Gibson Garage, showing everybody what he's done over the decades, especially with the decade that rocked. I was very grateful and honored to have that book early on when it came out, and Mark sent it to me, and now here at the Gibson Garage, everybody can come and check it out, say hi to Mark, and get a piece of history.
But I will give a lot of thanks to Twisted Sister because they gave me my first chance to do an album cover, which was Stay Hungry. It's the shot with Deep with the Bone, and from that I ended up getting a lot of jobs. So that was kind of a game changer. So first of all, I want to thank Heather and Ethan for helping me pull this together. I really appreciate their help and all the staff here at Gibson. It's an amazing place. I keep telling everyone about it. They have to come down and check it out. It's a really cool place, so I'm honored to be part of it. And I have my Gibson gallery, I guess you could call it. That sounds good, Gibson gallery. Some of my pictures through the years. My Peter Frampton, when I was still in high school, selling pictures for $1 a piece. Who would know that 2 years later, after sneaking in my camera, that Peter would hire me to shoot his publicity photographs for his next album. So 2 years later, I was like, So again, another game changer. Then I got arrested at a Kiss concert, selling pictures of Kiss, it's out at Madison Square Garden for $1 a piece. I'm in high school, I'm 17 years old, I go to jail, I'm like, all right, now what am I gonna do? I went to Circus Magazine, a magazine that I had a subscription to. I went and looked in the paper, and the magazine, the address, and I went to the office in New York, an hour away. Waited for about 3 or 4 hours. The secretary took a liking to me. She said, chill out for a little bit. The art director will be off deadline. He's in a good mood. I'll have him see it. So he saw me, and I had my portfolio of pictures, and I showed him. And then he called in Jerry Rothberg, who's the owner of the magazine. And I was like, oh my God, that's like Oz, Not Ozzy, but like the Wizard of Oz. And he was a great guy. He came in, he said, I like what you're doing, but use this film. We want to use flash, we need Kodachrome, so, I took it in. And then a couple months later, Aerosmith played at Giant Stadium with Journey and Ted Nugent. I stuck my camera in, and I thought I had some really good photos on Kodachrome, like he told me. Dropped them off, and 2 months later, it was the centerfold of Steven Tyler. Beatles were on the cover. 1978 October, I remember that. And I opened it up, and there's my little photo credit, and it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then I turned the page, and there was a picture of Ted Nugent, a full page. So that kind of got me to, I want more, So within 6 months, they're sending me on assignment to shoot Van Halen Convention Hall. They're just starting out. I had a photo pass, and they took a liking to me. That's my first picture of Eddie and backstage. I had a photo pass. I didn't have a backstage pass, but I went early to sound check, so I just kind of went back there like I was it. And introduced myself, and I brought my Steven Tyler centerfold, and I said, look, Eddie and Michael. And they're like, cool, man. And I said, can I take some photos back here? And Eddie didn't say anything. Michael said, sure. And through the years, because I ended up working with them and documenting most of their career, Eddie wouldn't say anything. He would just smile. So I took that as a yes. It wasn't a no. It wasn't get out of here. So anytime I wouldn't even ask him. I would just kind of do it. And then if he said get out, like in the dressing room or something, then I would just get out. But we had mutual respect for each other, as I did with all my artists. That's how all these bands, even the bands that aren't arena bands or that aren't huge, they're all my friends. It's like my camera gave me, it's how I met people. I was a shy kid back in the day, and when I was in high school, I was shy, and that's how, I got pictures of Peter Frampton and Aerosmith, and the girls would come up, and they wanted to talk to me, and I talked to them, and that's how I got a lot of dates. So anyway, it was a way for me to make friends by meeting these bands, and a lot of the bands met me. It was the other way around. So once I started getting work for Circus, they wanted to work with me, so it kind of like flipped around a little bit. I remember shooting John Bon Jovi. He was 18. He was opening up for Hall & Oates and Southside Johnny. I didn't even know I shot him back then, but it's in the book. And that's what I want to talk about, my book, The Decade That Rocked. It's kind of like my portfolio. I was so busy in the 80s, you know, like busy going from this tour to Guns N' Roses to Aerosmith to Motley Crue. You know, just 2 weeks at a time, I would just shift around all these different artists. And it was so much fun, and it never stopped. And I never put together a portfolio, you know, just word of mouth. I did the Twisted Sister album cover, then I got called to do Weiss-the Last Command's album, and then Cinderella and Dokken and Anthrax, and so I didn't really have to do much. So I never really had a body of work to show for itself. And you know, then the 90s came, and you know, what are you gonna do? So I didn't do much. I tried shooting those bands. I mean, I did shoots with Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. I started working with them, but they really didn't like photography. Not that they didn't like photographers, they didn't get it like the 80s bands did. So I kind of let that go, and then Kiss came back on a reunion, and I did all those photographs in '96, and kind of all started rolling for the hair metal bands, or the rock and metal, not hair, sorry. And then, you know, it kind of pittered out, and I did some other things. I shot, you know, Christina Aguilera and Gwen Stefani and Black Eyed Peas. I did a bunch of stuff like that for some magazines in Germany. It was fun, but it wasn't like the 80s. And then 7 years ago, maybe 8 years, I signed my deal to do a book. I figured I was ready, and I knew it was going to be a big task. But I had to start somewhere. I signed it. They wanted the pictures, and it took me, believe it or not, like 7 years to put together. So this is my portfolio, The Decade That Rocked. This is it. And actually, just to go back to the story on how I got my first camera, because in the back of my book, I have a little saying called, "If you don't go, you don't know." And that's what I tell my kids, because you got to go. You know, you got to go to that club to check out a band, because you may meet your next singer, or you might meet your wife, or whatever. So whatever it's related to, I related to my life experiences. And when I was 12 years old, I knew I was going to be a doctor or a rocket scientist or anything like that. I had a motorcycle accident when I was 12, and I kind of lost my memory. I couldn't retain, which I still have trouble with, but I document and I remember by seeing and over again. So I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer or a doctor, and I was always nervous about that. So anyway, I don't know where that came from, but it's in the book. But I mowed lawns, and there was one lawn that usually the guy mowed his lawn himself, but it was really high, so I knocked on the door, and I said, "You need your lawn mowed?" He goes, "No, I do it myself." And I said, "It doesn't look that way." So he got a giggle too, and he said, "I'll tell you what, if you mow my lawn for the season, I'll give you this camera." And he showed me this camera, this Bell & Howell Canon camera. And to me, it looked like it was worth $1 million. I figured, all right, I get the camera, I'll sell it at the hog shop down the street for a couple $100, and it'll be worth it. I got the camera and I put it on my desk, and I looked at it, and I kept looking at it, and I started playing around with it, moving the shutter, and then I got a roll of film, and I started taking pictures of my dog and my brother, who used to ride motorcycles, and I kind of liked it. And then I started developing film. I asked my teacher if he could teach me, because in the summer he took me under his wing, told me how to develop. We could put you go through those cylinder doors. For all those that don't know what film is or developing is, you take a picture under roll of film, you get 36 chances, and you develop it. And then you negative, and you print off the negative, and you go in this round door. It's like, like magic, it's like you're in space. I mean, you go in, there's this red light, and there's the trays, and you put the paper in, and all of a sudden it comes to life. And that's what got me started on it. And then I put it down because I kind of got bored of shooting my brother and my dog. But then when I went, my brother took me to a concert, Cause We Still's Nash and Young, and there was this kid that was friends with the family named Kenny Reff. And he had his camera. He was a couple years older than me. I was 14 at the time. And we had these two girls with him. And he's like, I said, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I'm going to the stage to take some pictures. And he went and took some pictures. The next time I saw him at a family event, he showed me the pictures, and I said, wow, that was cool. And then that's how I kind of got the bug. And then he told me how to sneak into concerts, you know, giving the security guard a couple bucks, you know, with a fake ticket. Did that for a couple of years, and I sold the pictures, and then here I am today. So thank you, everyone, for coming. And if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them, or you just want to come and I have books for sale. And, you know, that's it. Anyone? Anyone? Come on.
Who's your favorite artist to work with?
My favorite artist to work with? I'd have to say Ozzy. First time I shot Ozzy, it was for the Circus magazine. They gave me my first cover. I was like only 21 years old, and I got this cover shoot to do Ozzy. Went to the hotel, and it was only supposed to be black and white for most athletic. So I'm trying to come up with an idea, because it was like a heavy metal yearbook, and he was most athletic because he used to jump around a lot on stage. So I'm like, I'm gonna bring boxing gloves. And so I brought boxing gloves. And Ozzy came, and he knew what the idea was, and he came out with a pink tutu on. And then he had the cowboy boots, and they used it for a cover. And then I put him in the bubble bath, and that ended up being like an iconic photo. So, but Ozzy's just a bunch of fun. He still is. They're like really family to me. And I was glad to return the favor to them when I brought them Zakk Wylde, when I introduced them to Zakk. So yeah, we have a lot of history. Okay, that's it. Come on.
Would you come up with the ideas for the shoots, or did they kind of have in mind what they wanted?
Do I come up with the ideas, or do they do? It's kind of mixed. It depends. I try to make a scenario happen and put them in it, and then let them kind of live that, whether it's like a fantasy kind of thing, whatever. But if it's an album cover or concept, they'll tell me the name of the cover, and I'll try to work around it. Like the Night Songs album was shot in Philly, and we wanted to look like, you know, nighttime, and put some smoke in there, and just have to find the right. It's a lot of it's about finding the right location. So I have a lot of input in it, but they usually have the idea, and they trust me, and I kind of go with it.
You still shoot film?
I do not shoot film. I was really hesitant to go to the digital route, but I was working for a German magazine called Bravo, and it was a weekly, and they needed film right away, and I used to have to like FedEx it, and it was a real pain, and they needed it, so I think that kind of got me to go the digital route, and then the cameras started getting better, quality better, and yeah, it's pretty amazing right now. So yeah, I'm definitely not a film guy anymore, but I love going back and looking at those contact sheets and those transparencies, and just knowing that you can't shoot thousands, you know, because back then I didn't shoot thousands of photos, you shot hundreds, and then you didn't even know if you had it. So it's a lot different. It was a lot harder, and a lot of stress. You know, I used to have to take my film and go through, whenever I traveled, which was a lot, and take the film out so they don't, you know, so they don't, it was the X-ray, it was a real pain. Yeah, I'm happy for digital. Okay. Once again,